Good morning.
Morning. Sorry about that.
Good morning.
Morning, Lee.
Hey,
Yes, good morning.
okay, are you, who
Verizon.
are you with?
I'm with Verizon Wireless.
Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll start with opening the meeting. All
Sounds
right,
good.
I'd like to open the Board of Water Commissions on Thursday, July 14, 2022 at 10:17 a.m.
Second, all in favor?
Favor?
Aye.
So since we have David here, let's jump right into the Verizon lease.
Yes, so there are some concerns with our installation at the water tank, and I'm told that by our operations manager that there's a general contractor out there now addressing the issues. The issues were some overgrown vegetation in the compound. Some panels on the cable trays had blown off. Those will be replaced. And we have a generator that's propane fueled, and the fire chief wants that to be, I guess it needs to be permitted every so often. So we have a contractor out there addressing these issues now. I expect those to be finalized in a week or so. And at that time, Verizon looking to extend our lease as well as make some upgrades to the equipment up on the tank. So the draft lease has been approved, but these issues need to be resolved before the commission is willing to sign the amendment. So I should have those resolved.
Okay, that sounds good. Fred, do you have anything to say about any issues that your group has seen?
I have no comments regarding issues. If there's anything Woodard and Kern is required to do, we'll certainly do that. I would defer to Jonathan as far as what's going on the ground here.
Yeah, I have no comment. No issues.
Okay, as long as the boards in town and the fire chief have no issues. Anybody on the board?
I have a question. I think, David, you said the draft lease has been approved, or the lease extension?
I believe so, yes. That was on 4/26. Yes, 4/26.
Okay. I mean, that would be news to me. The last I knew is that our town council was reviewing the lease amendment. I haven't heard anything back on that. Has there been anything come to you, Steve or Lee?
Mm-mm.
Haven't seen anything.
Okay.
Was it signed off?
Well, if I can clarify, at 4/26, we had a Zoom meeting, and I think the board here, when I was discussing this with you folks, you all were in agreement. So I'll leave it at that. I'm sorry if I misspoke. I did send a draft. If it's with town council, that's fine. But I'm trying to resolve the outstanding concerns that were brought up. Once those are resolved, I will re-forward the draft. If town council has comments, we can go from there. But
Yeah, we should follow up on that on our end, because it has been a while since we made that request, and we'll follow up to see if there's anything else.
yeah, I get it. We've been there for quite a while, and we're just looking to stay longer. That's all. And,
Right.
and including with each staying longer, adding more years to the lease is just upgrading the equipment to 5G technology, structural and the structural analysis, the passes, and all those kinds of things the building inspector would require. But again, I will follow up once these outstanding issues are resolved.
Yeah, and we look forward to that being a consistent effort, to maintain that space, throughout the term.
Understood.
Do we have any other questions for Mr. Tidnam?
I have no other questions.
Nope.
Okay. Thank you. We look forward to your update on the resolution.
Yes, I will follow up. Thank you very much. Have a great day, everybody. Okay, so long.
Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
All right. I was, gonna say we jump in the financials, but don't see any financial experts here for the town.
Is this the line item that, I called each of you to discuss Woodard and Curran's budget? Would this be the right agenda item to discuss that on there?
Yeah, it's under the financials. Absolutely.
So if you don't mind, I'll just start. And,
Go ahead. Have the
yeah, so
floor.
as you're aware, I called each and every one of you to tell you, I put together a budget and I had some challenges making budget. There was a shortfall. I believe I told you around 40,000-ish. Obviously, you're all well aware, you're all business people in some sense of what we're dealing with in the region, in the industry, trying to attract labor to this region. It's really kind of blown my budget and what I'm dealing with and what our competitors are offering. Also, as it relates to the CPI in the region, I was just, I think at the end of May, it was 7.5%. I was just informed this morning, it went to 9.1%, and which is unprecedented. I haven't heard numbers that high ever. So that's basically what I'm dealing with as it relates to inflation, labor rates. And then, of course, we only put in an 8% profit margin in these contracts. So I'm kind of up against it. I know you're all willing to consider some offset for us financially. I originally said 40,000. To be very honest, that wasn't an accurate assessment. It was more closer to 50, but I know that I said it. So, I'm requesting a 5% increase, which is actually 47,000 to meet my overall cost. And our CPI, our labor, our profit, our overhead, it's all kind of in that ball. If you're not comfortable doing that based on our original conversation, I respect that. I don't have a problem with that. I'm grateful, Woodard and Curran's grateful that, for your consideration and to at least have this conversation. So anything you're willing to do, we really appreciate it. So with that, I would welcome feedback or thoughts.
Well, I'll start and then everybody can follow under. I do understand the cost of everything is going up, staffing. I mean, I see it here. Me personally, I'm okay with it because I know that's the trend right now, but obviously I'm gonna let Chris and Lee weigh in as well. That's most important.
Okay, I know what you guys have been doing for the first 3-year extension. You kept it at one price for 3 years. You've kept it at one price for the 2 years of the first 2 years of this contract. And I understand exactly what you're up against. And we have a lot of issues with our current budget for this year. There has to be a lot of adjustments made because there have been staff turnovers in town. We're missing people. We're not getting, what we should be getting from indirect costs. And we should be looking to drastically decrease some of those costs. So with that in mind, and with, I hate to say it, the renewed communication between us, since we no longer have a middleman separating us, I feel more confident in the work you're doing, and I have no problem with it.
I would say that I think this needs to be, in general, a partnership approach. We're all on the same team, and I appreciate Fred's effort to bring this all to us, and I'm sure there'll be some type of proposal or breakdown as to what the increase is needed for specifically. So I'm in favor of it because I think we need to focus on retaining and attracting talented, qualified staff. And overall, my sort of approach and philosophy at this point is that we should be raising the standards of quality and performance. And we should strive for what has been in the past an award-winning department. I think that should be the standard we strive for, is to be award-winning. That's possible. So in the spirit of, continuous improvement, raising the standards of performance and quality, and having good, qualified, talented staff, I would support an increase to Woodard and Curran to get them where they need to be so they can remain focused on those things. And with that said, obviously as a board, we're going to be looking at significant increases over the next 2 years, much greater than 5%. That's a pretty marginal increase, all things considered. So I think overall it makes sense, and probably won't be the last time we have to look at cost increases for the services and goods we're buying.
Thanks, Chris. What I'll do is, if it's all right with the board, I'll get with my supervisor. We'll put together the 5% cost and kind of break down what those are. Like you said, you want some breakouts. I'll be happy to do that for you, Chris, the rest of the board. So you see what you're paying for. We're all about transparency. So we're just grateful you're taking this under consideration.
Okay, I think what we need right now is a motion with the exact number you're looking for.
The motion would be for a 5% increase to the contract number, and just give me a couple of seconds. It equates to 47, but just in the spirit of it being exact, I just want to grab a quick number. If you guys want to, if you want to continue on with something, I just have to dive into my project file real quick to make sure I get it right.
Yeah, we could circle back to
Yeah.
that.
I mean, I know I want to make sure I got it right down to the last penny, and I apologize, but
Yeah,
It's about $4,000 a month, isn't it?
it's 3,900. But if I'm going to apply the 5,000 to the actual number, I want you to know exactly what that is. I'll have it in just a few minutes.
yeah, well, I think just for consistency and clarity, we need an exact number.
Yep, I agree.
So
Well,
And
Walfred,
then we'll
Just
be
give
able to
me-
plug it in.
Yeah, just give me like a couple of minutes. I'll have it right in front of you in a second.
so
Sure.
while Fred types away calculating, under the financials, again, we don't have someone from town hall to kind of go through with us. Anything that Chris or Lee that you see that's sticking out right now?
Well, I mean, we really have no real information. The basic information I find that is solid is the report that Brenda has given us
Right.
for the end of the year. Compared to the reports that Dawn had her do, which I think is outside of her scope of work for Woodard and Curran. I have, you can't even question it because there's no one here to answer any questions. We still have not gotten a resolution from the email I sent out several weeks ago about the salary adjustments that we should be getting within the indirect costs. And then there was that issue that I had brought up several months ago too, about the 2014 management letter, that the auditor said that we should be getting a reconciliation at the end of every year, that Don just poo-pooed and said, no, you did it in 2014, you never have to do it again, which I do not stand by. If we are running a professional business operation here, we should be able to go back and get some reconciliation from the town for these indirect costs. Because I feel, there've been so much moving around in town hall that, I don't know, and we do not have any say when they decide to give 12.5% to their employees. And we just have to be the brunt and say, oh, well, take it. I know, having taken several courses with Waterworks and gone through different plants, talking to operators, it has been historical that water departments are looked at as the cash cow of the towns. And I'm afraid that's what the town has done with us. And we have to kind of put the brakes on and make sure we are getting what we're paying for. But that's all I have to say about this. Fred, are you ready?
I am. So the base contract is, which has been held, as you mentioned, this has been flat for 3 years, is at $942,519. So a 5% increase would increase that by $47,125.95. So again, that's 5% would be $47,125.95. Of an increase broken down monthly is approximately just under $4,000.
Okay, well, we don't really need that right now, I don't think.
Okay,
Who wants to make a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve the 5% increase of $47,125.95 to Woodard and Curran.
Effective when?
Actually,
I would
August 1?
say, yeah, it would be retro back to June 1, July
July
1.
1.
July 1.
Yes, for the third year of their contract.
All right, so I'll make it, so I'll make a motion to, I'll make a motion to approve the $47,125.95 to Woodard and Curran, retroactive back to July 1, 2022.
Second.
Second. All in
Any discussion?
favor? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
3 ayes.
Really appreciate it.
Right.
Does this require some type of amendment?
Yeah, I'll get the contract stuff together over in front of the board ASAP.
Then we can sign it when we sign the warrants when we come in.
Great.
Okay. Hey, Chris, anything else on the financials? I mean, again, without the help, but somebody from town hall,
Where's
Um,
Brian today? Isn't he popping in at all?
I haven't heard anything from him. I don't know.
Okay.
I thought he was coming, but obviously not. What I will tell you about the financials that I ran off of SoftWrite on the town side is obviously it was as of yesterday. The demands went out. So I know a lot of that's encumbered in here. As for the expenditure portion of it, the problem is, mine's an actual to date with real numbers. A lot of the things on the expenditure report on the town side is it's showing all the open purchase orders. So what I've done is I printed out a report which shows my open purchase orders. And I've been slowly going through to make sure that the new guy, Ryan, who took over for Jane, I've been working with him to start liquidating all of those. So it's gonna look like we have actual numbers. The last warrant went up Monday and I have to have our encumbrances in tomorrow. So really, there's only 4 invoices that are outstanding right now. And it is short money and it is in my spreadsheet. So on the expenditure side, I'm very confident, and we did end up leaving over 90,000 on the books. And the only reason that happened, we wanted to go gangbusters and keep going forward doing other things, but with the uncertainty of the sludge removal and the cost of transportation and the increase in the chemicals, I made big purchase orders and kind of held them in there until the projects were done and then liquidated it. So we do have money still in there. So that'll go to retained earnings.
Right.
Thank you, Brenda. You're always very good on the budget. But I
Yes.
have a question about this report. It looks like there's one that says revenue, one that says expenditure.
Correct.
And they're both the same reports. But there is another one that says expenditure. This starts out, the first line is extraordinary maintenance, but there's another one that says expenditures, that says text titles redeemed, penalties and interest.
Yeah, that's one report. It's a 2-page report, Lee.
Okay. But one should say expenditures and one should say revenue.
I don't know why it printed out. Again, this is my
I don't
first
know how it
time.
printed out. I don't know. Did you take a look at it? Because it looks like it's exactly the same for revenue and expenditure in all of their title and account numbers.
I can't answer that because,
Except, yes, except the numbers are different, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. When we can be in person. That would be
Okay.
easier.
and we did figure out that, when we spoke the other day when you were in, Lee, that it was broken down by water charges,
Okay,
base fees. The base fee was the capital recovery. I think that was irrigation, unmetered unit. It all went into one line item.
so capital
you can charge-
recovery was irrigation meters, base fee, and
Unmetered unit.
yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and other fees?
That's AT&T. Oh, no, that's separate. Other fees are final water readings, summer services. things
Okay,
like-
where does that income show?
What, just under fees.
Just under fees, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was the question, yes.
Yep. So I got rentals are separate, meaning AT&T, T-Mobile, Verizon.
Right, I know that, I see
The water
that,
fees are, like I just said. System
Right.
development, we know what that is.
right.
Fire hydrant charges, we know what that is. So
Yeah,
then
so
the base fee is, like I said, all of those separate fees that are
Yeah,
on. the
capital
bottom line.
recovery, unmetered, and the,
Yes,
okay,
and user
So-
charges is strictly water.
okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to make sure. So that we know what we're talking about.
Yep.
Yeah, but then that gets confusing when we're looking at the budget information that we get from Don, because he shows us what is billed out for that year and then what comes in. But that's not necessarily everything that's billed out, because it's also receivables coming in. So we have to take out, if we want to see exactly where we are year to year, comparing definitively what is billed out and what has come in against what was billed out that year, we have to subtract the receivables. You follow what I'm saying?
No.
No.
Totally
You
lost.
know, if you had a store, and you're selling, let's say, you're selling Coke. So you're selling 10 cans of Coke a week and somebody's buying it, but then, they didn't pay for the Coke that they bought the week before. So you can't tell how much you got in for the Coke you sold that week, because they're giving you the money from the week before too. Because the receivables are giving you money from the year before. So he has a heading that says billed water. Billed water is for what we actually sold at this date and time. The income is what we sold in this date and time, plus what people didn't pay us from the previous maybe 2 to 3 years. So it's not a clean number of exactly what we billed and what we sold. Chris, do you understand what I said?
Yeah, I understand the concept. I
Yeah,
don't
I'm
see
just saying,
where-
if we wanted to get a clean number of what was actually billed and what was actually sold.
Build and sold.
Yeah, billed is
isn't
sold, right.
it? Build and
And what
sold.
came in, billed is
wasn't-
what came in, yes, but they're showing that we have receivables. That's all. So we don't really get a list of receivables from the town anymore. We used to request that because we had a problem with receivables years back. Brenda will remember that when we had hundreds of thousands of dollars people weren't paying.
Well, it
So-
does give a breakdown of the user charges that have come in from fiscal year
Yeah, it does.
21. I mean, our rate of monies paid, when I go do the billing, if I'm not mistaken, Dawn always said, we're in the 90 percentile of,
Mhm.
you know, what we bill out getting in within that time period.
You know, this is what we have to look at when we're looking at the rate study, to make sure that what we're billing out is what the rate study presumed that what we'd be taking in. So that we can look at next year if we have to do some tweaking of numbers.
Well, I'm gonna suggest that you find somebody that is going to be able to go through that rate study. It's way above my pay grade to be able to follow that. Yeah, I don't know if Brian's gonna have the time to do it. To answer those questions for you, Lee, because I
Well,
mean,
we have to look at it as a group here to see where
that's-
our income is coming from.
Yeah, I'm just saying that it's not something that you can, the layman can just go in and look at it and figure that whole thing out. It's pretty in-depth.
Right.
Well,
to-
I don't know.
to-
I think
to ba-
between the three of
back up-
us,
To back up a little bit, I mean, I think we should somehow convey, and maybe I should speak for myself, but my concern of the turnover in staff at town hall. So we're gonna need financial reporting and analysis from the town, and we're not getting that. So as the months go on, it's gonna be more and more difficult. So it's gonna get more challenging before it gets better. So I don't know if Lee and Steve, you share the concern of the town having no finance director and now the treasurer collector leaving. If I had to guess, I would say we're in for several months of,
The treasurer collector
Transition.
saving?
that's what I heard.
yes, I've heard that from other people too.
You've got to be kidding me.
Brenda, you have to go get your accounting degree now.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think,
We're gonna have to watch the numbers in the budget very closely over the coming year.
yeah, we're gonna have to find some way to get some accurate numbers.
Right.
Well, the new gentleman that started is, he's not up to speed yet, right?
The one that started for Jane, he knows enough to be dangerous. Jane's gonna be coming in once a week still, working a 10-hour shift on Tuesdays to acclimate him. He's pretty overwhelmed right now, with year-end closing and all of this.
Yeah.
He would not be the one that would be running this type of reporting. I know they had an interview coming up, I think it's this week, for a finance director. But I don't know any more than that. But I don't think that Ryan would be the one we'd be relying on to get this type of financial information.
I agree with Chris. We got to keep our eye on.
You know, I'm wondering whether or not we should be looking to outsource some of this on our own and find our own accountant that we can count on to deal with some of this.
Yeah, I think that's definitely something we should consider. I mean, the more we can do as as our own entity, I think would benefit us. But I don't know what the precedent for that is.
Okay, well, the other thing that we have to look at too is, when Don was in, he said up the president that he was taking out all of our indirect costs July 1st instead of January 1st, as had been historically done. So we have to make sure that that money stays in our account and does not get transferred to the town. Because look at the problem we're having now, getting that money back that has been unused. And there are some other issues in there I found with other staff that we've paid for that we have not gotten any services.
Right.
So that's something that we should sit down. Maybe we should have an executive session to sit down and take a look at some of these numbers and deal with this at a future date when we get some of this other stuff resolved.
Yeah, and I think we should make an effort or make a point to try to stay in the loop on what's going on with filling those positions. And if we do share a consensus that it's concerning to us, the several months of lack of support or involvement and now some vacancies. But on the flip side, I think this could give us a good opportunity to engage with someone new and sort of start fresh on things like indirect costs, reporting routines, and meeting regularity. So hopefully it will in the end be a positive transition.
Right.
I'm hoping it works out better than when Don came on board.
All right. Anything else on the financials?
No,
All right, we'll hit the next section is the GAC update. So I did sign the second portion of the contract to continue on with Tetra Tech. That everybody's aware of. I think when we, as you know, as we start moving forward, Tetra Tech, one of the things that was brought up, you know, that kind of like the weekly meetings, monthly meetings, you know, bi-week, whatever they decide, I think it should be somebody from one person from the board. You can rotate to attend those meetings with Brian and you know, Jonathan, Fred. I think that's gonna be important going forward because, as you know, as the price has gone up, we're gonna have to look at the rates again. We might have to outsource a rate study to somebody and head back to a special town meeting. So kind of open the floor to you folks to discuss.
okay. I have to tell you, I did talk to Pat O'Connor about a week and a half ago about the SRF, and he said that the state is being deluged now with requests for funds. And he said, well, maybe you could just do half of the project now. And I'm saying, I don't think that'll work. I also reached out to Mr. Mahana at Ty and Bond about the situation. And he's said that since they bid on our work, they had several other jobs come in, and then they even lost one of their engineers to another company. So it is a staffing issue, and he didn't feel comfortable that he'd really be able to get any of the work done by the deadline for the SRF in the fall. And he was also concerned that after the bid opening, that suddenly Tetra Tech came up with the price that they had come up with, that Ty and Bond had come up with in January. And I was concerned with that also, because my whole problem with Tetra Tech was they were not contractors in the region, and Ty and Bond had been doing this work in the region. So I'm wondering whether or not maybe they were looking at different salary requirements in the South and Southwest than we have in the New England region. I have no clue why there was such a disparity in the actual cost and what they bid it as. And, you know, that's another issue. And then also Mr. Mahana suggested that he may have to look at the project anew and start fresh. So
I think it's a moot point. It's a moot point now, isn't it? I mean,
I know, so we're not there,
proceeding
but
with-
this is where we are. And I'm just concerned that Tetra Tech may just start hitting us with, oh yeah, gee whiz, here we have to increase. I don't know if we could do anything to hold them to anything.
Well, we can hold them to the design fee, which we know is
Yep.
going to come in around 400,000, possibly more, you know, slightly as it may be. And then, you know, they are contracted up through bidding assistance. So we need to hold them accountable throughout the process on a weekly basis. We can't let the schedule slip like it already has. I mean, if we're committing to this, then we need to do this. We can't let the schedule slip anymore. They are waiting for design feedback, which is, months overdue at this point. So we need to discuss that and get that to them. They have changed the milestones. So we're not going 60, 90, 100. We're going 75, 100. So their next cost estimate will be at 75% design, which isn't until September. So, we can cross our fingers that we don't go up from the 6 to 7 million by September. But that's where we're at, I think. And they have provided, I think, all the answers to the questions we asked for. They provided the new schedule. The contract's been signed. So it seems like to me, the biggest deliverable we have is to provide them the feedback on 25% design.
Now, have we
Jonathan,
heard from Brian about that at all?
No,
No, but Fred and I discussed it and we agreed that there was little comment to make, if any, and I told Tony that the other day.
that was on our end, Lee. That's between Jonathan and I can't speak for Brian. So we're waiting for his input, if he has any.
Yeah, I copied him on that email.
Mhm.
And so has there been any discussion on a weekly or bi-weekly meeting or check-in call or anything like that as was discussed in that meeting?
I have not heard a peep from Brian. I know he's really busy. His availability is slim, but that's something that I would encourage you to have that conversation with him, and I'd be happy to strike that up along with you. But we need to get him engaged at some level.
I had kind of a thought, but it's up to the board. Is it worth having like a consultant working with, Fred and Jonathan that on behalf of like the water plant? Because I know, Fred and Jonathan can't go above and beyond what they do for the contract. Is it worth having somebody there to work with both Fred and Jonathan to write comments, and that's a water professional? Is it something that,
Yeah, I thought about, how can I help, right? And if I were to create an out of scope task and charge accordingly billable hours and try to really manage that, keep that as transparent for you guys as well. I just don't see, I don't know if I can be effective. I don't know if that's going to provide you what you need as far as oversight because of my bandwidth. So, I
is it
think
something?
we need to get Brian in this room once and for all and let him, this is just my opinion, and have him spell out exactly what he thinks he can do, and what he can't do. And then kind of get a direction as to, do we get a third party, which is definitely in your best interest. Who that would be, I'm not sure. I'll do what I can on my end. I'll speak with my superiors and see if I can't break off a little bit more time for additional input and oversight, but I'm limited. But we
And Jonathan's
really,
doing it too.
Jonathan's, he's got to run this place. So
Right.
he can't. And you need somebody with experience in construction, kind of what they're looking at as far as in those design phases. And just on a side note, what my guys over at Ty and Bond were pretty comfortable with their 25% submittal. If there was any red flags, then we would have had to rethink this. And then Lee was right as far as I heard the exact same thing. They don't, at this point in time, based on their work, they book their schedules, they don't think that they can make the October deadline, but they were comfortable with the 25% design.
Yeah,
So I would urge you, as I have been, to try to somehow get Brian to commit to this DWSRF. What do we need to administer that? Who's going to do the oversight? Because you guys are right. You really have no clear direction. You need more.
What do you mean by that, Fred?
Well, Brian's not in the room right now. He really should be. And I'm not trying to throw Brian under the bus. I get it. He's working his butt off doing other stuff. But here we are. I mean, we're in the middle of July, and you really have no true internal oversight from an engineering perspective, management perspective. And if Brian can't do it, he just needs to finally say that and then figure out who we can hire to do that.
And that's why I kind of brought it up. You need that oversight.
Right.
See,
But
well,
what is-
Brian was the one who initially said back months ago that he was going to be the contact person for the town. on this because that's his background. And then, you know, when we got that 25%, we didn't see it for several weeks because Brian said, well, you didn't have your meeting until the end of the month, and he held on to it for 3 weeks, you know, and now he's not here. So we do have a serious issue.
Didn't Brian mention though, hiring a third party, somebody outside of Woodard and Curran and the town of Cohasset to oversee this whole thing? I know, I'm pretty sure he mentioned it. at
Well,
a meeting.
we have to hire an OPM,
Yeah, that's what he was
Regardless.
talking about, I thought.
but
Right.
yeah, that's one, which, you know, technically in a single OPM can be in this particular phase, but you need somebody in this phase during the design phase that's gonna. you
And
know,
that's where I thought Brian was going to be.
In my
Well, that's what I
opinion,
thought
Brian,
too.
yeah, Brian needs to approve who that is, and that's my opinion. He's the professional engineer working for the town. He's gotta be able, he's gotta be confident in who we hire. I wouldn't just leave it to a board of water commissioners who's a
Right.
volunteer.
You know, in his background, he came from MWRA.
So
Well,
maybe we, one of us, Chris, Lee, or myself, copy Fred, and just we can email Brian and say, can we look into get an independent person, whether it's somebody from Woodard and Curran or another company that can be the oversight during this 25 to 100% completion of the drawings.
Knowing how busy he is, you need somebody who's gonna be able to show up to whether it be a regular board meeting or a special board meeting, or if you form a committee, to know exactly where you stand in this process,
Right.
every time you meet.
What do you think Fred, what do you think the regular resource allocation and time requirement needs to be? Is it at this phase of the project? I mean, it can't be a 40-hour job, right? I mean,
No.
someone needs to be communicating with Tetra Tech on a weekly basis, answering
But-
questions, getting back to them. I mean, what is the actual requirement on a
You
regular
know,
basis?
right now, obviously, you know, you're getting your 75% by September, so you can check in, but you know that's where you're heading. If I look at it as an administrator and working for the town, I would be concerned that I don't know where you stand with DWSRF, what has to happen. Do you need any engineering? For example, when I went through that program in Connecticut, I had an engineer help me do the application submittal process because it was just very cumbersome. There was a lot of tasks. They had basically boilerplate templates that provided to me that would help me get through that, or they'd do it. So you need to know that that's in place, solid. You establish a relationship with the administrator of the program. You have a phone, you know, you have his cell phone number basically, or you have a good connection, some good form of communication. And knowing that you're dotting your i's and crossing your t's, you don't want to miss that. You know, you need to understand what the requirements of the program are, what the deadlines are. You know, and I get the sense Massachusetts a little less, they're a little bit more lenient than what I'm typically used to, which is good. But I don't have a real good feeling about who's really on top of that.
Doing the meeting.
So
So you can just leave it there.
that's my first thought. That's my one concern. I'm not so concerned with the design phase right now. You make sure that you're doing everything right for the funding program and that you're
Okay.
gonna meet that.
You mentioned something about October. So I've heard the
I
fall.
believe-
And then you
Yeah,
mentioned October.
that's
so-
the last, yeah, that was the last thing that was tie and bond, say, yeah, you got the October deadline for DWSRF. Now, I don't know. Again, I don't know if that means that they need to see 100% design on their desk. They need to know what the hard costs are, what the contingencies are, you know. They're gonna make you buy American, what that means, how you're gonna bid it. There's just a lot of things out there. I don't know. That I know that I had to have a tighter understanding when I was borrowing $5 or $6 million. And I did a pressure zone project with a tank, pump stations, pipe. It was probably like 12 million at the time. And it was a real pain in the ass, to be frank. And if it wasn't for the engineers getting me through it, I might not have got through it on my own or met the deadlines. So that's what I'm concerned about.
Okay, well, the other thing too is, it was Tetra Tech who did the SRF application. So they should be able to give us a detailed timeline of exactly what has to be done and where they are and if they're going to meet that deadline, because they were the ones that initiated and they should be on top of it.
And those are the kinds of questions I'd be asking every week, not necessarily about the design phase, because you know they're heading towards the 75%. You check in and say, how's it going? We're still on task. You know, I would do that every several weeks. But as far as DWSRF, I'd be rattling their cage often. Just to make sure, you know, if the application is in, what else is required? How we doing?
So who is typically responsible for that process? Is that the town or is that the consultant?
Well, I hired the consultant that was doing the design work for me. I hired to get me through the application process. That's the kind of deal. If you pre-qualify, you negotiate a price. And then I think it cost me like $5,000 to do the application fee at the time. That was probably 7 years ago. And then they kind of walk you through that step because that all has to get in and submitted. You know, they're going to need motions. They're going to need, you know, information from these meetings, when motions were made and all that stuff has to be in. And maybe it is already. I don't know. I'm disconnected at that level. But
So Fred, do you think it's worth bringing somebody in now to be doing the peer reviews for the designs and working with, you know?
Well, I think between Ryan, if you gotta ask that question to Brian.
All right. Yeah,
Right.
because
And we're
The
gonna
other
we're gonna look at it from a functionality standpoint and operation standpoint. But somebody to bless that, a third party, you really need Brian, or you need him to
Right.
say, this is my guy to do it. And we'll
But we
certainly-
hired basically Tetra Tech to do the application. So they should be the ones who are on hand to say, here, this is where we are, this is what we have to get done, and this is why we need you to move to A, B, C, D.
Right.
Well, I know that the state had requested from Brian the approval, the actual vote from the town meetings to approve the projects and whatnot. He did forward to them the certified copy from the town clerk for both appropriations, and that is the last I saw of it.
I would want more communications there. Just to know, is there any other milestones, any other information they need? You know, dates, kind of along the construction schedule, but as it relates to DWSRF. You want that to go smooth.
Well, do you
I
think we
can't-
should be contacting Brian and say, Brian, this is what our issues are, we have to have an answer by, and give him a date certain, we have to have this answer?
I mean, I would nicely say I would try to get him to commit to attending these meetings. as
I
part
thought
of
he
it.
was.
That's important. I mean, that's a good start. Say, we really need you, please.
Right.
That would be my first concern. He's got to be present. And unfortunately, he's so busy. I really have some concerns for him and how this is going to go based on his bandwidth. So we need to have that candid conversation and then let's figure out how we can get you the best support you need.
yeah, and that's why I think somebody else needs to help out. I mean, I could reach out to Brian or Lee if you want to do it, that's fine.
No, that's all right, Steve, because you probably have more of a professional relationship with him than I would.
Yeah, I think, Steve, we should either, go sit down with them or have a call with them and say, all right, we've hit this point now where we've signed the contract with Tetra Tech, we're moving forward. Let's just sync up on who's doing what. And first of all, get his, sign off on the 25% design or feedback so we can provide that to Tony, because we don't want to give Tetra Tech any reason to say that we're delaying the project. So we need to get that behind us. And then just iron out a plan of who's doing what and get his input on bringing someone on, whether it's a consultant, and just ask him straight up what his bandwidth is to do this stuff. So I think we just need to get in a room with them or get on the phone with them.
We could do that. Yeah, I'll set them up with Brian. I'll shoot him a note after this. Because, before we know it, October's gonna be here pretty quick.
Yep.
And also, like Lee said, I mean, if some of this is on Tetra Tech, we need to understand what is required and what they're responsible for. and make
Right.
sure they're doing it. Because Tony had mentioned a couple things, like he would contact someone at the state and this, that, and the other thing, and they'll find out about increasing the size of the loan, but that fell flat. So
Right.
was he
Yeah.
doing that just as a courtesy, or does he actually have some contractual responsibility to do that? That's what we need to iron out.
Yep.
I'm sorry, I was provided a checkoff list too from the DWSRF application process from my engineer from the state. So I knew exactly where we were. And what tasks were mine and what were my engineers too. So I don't know if that's relevant here, but you definitely want to wrap your head around what's required. If that makes sense.
See, well, we do not have any information of what the town was provided. This is where we are dancing in the dark because it seems as though the communication with the town is almost non-existent at this stage.
And don't misunderstand me, maybe you're fine, but I just don't know.
No, well,
Wouldn't count. on
does
that.
not make me feel comfortable.
Right.
Chris doesn't even show up at our meetings. We can't get, I don't know. But
Well, the pen is mightier than the sword. That's why it's very important to put in an email. So I will do that today. I'll copy you folks and let's get the ball rolling. Anything else on the GAC? We'll move on to milfoil.
let's move on.
Okay, milfoil update. Oh, looks Jonathan's up on this one.
Yeah, we have the trucking company in today. Whether or not, so we only have like one load of the milfoil material left. And whether or not it's completely removed today, I'm unsure, but I do know that they're on site today cleaning up the dirt berms that were shoring up the bags. So the site is being cleaned up today. The final load of material may or may not be going out, but we have that. And then they're also cleaning up around the lagoon as the part to sort of fulfill the final part of, their responsibility here. And then also today, they're going to be dropping the sludge roll-off dumpster in the place where we're going to be using it. And sort of not milfoil, but part of that is this time next week, we'll be installing the new polymer system in the sludge building. So hopefully like 10, 14 days from now, we'll be using that dumpster.
Great.
Yeah. All
Um,
right.
How are we planning to clean up the areas where the milfoil was? Like the parking lot, obviously, and the grass is a mess. And what is there a plan to sort of beautify that area or get it back to at least where it was?
Well, the extent of the beautification that we're talking about right now is getting it street swept by a street sweeper, but the town street sweeper is down right now, so we may have to hire someone. I know that they were recently renting or hiring an outside person to do street sweeping in town, but we're talking about that. As far as the grass, that's another conversation, hasn't really come up yet. I'm kind of looking out my office window now, and the grass is, the dirt is gone that was shoring up the bag, but now the grass is gone as well. So now it's all just dirt and earth. So we probably should plant some grass and talk about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, we're talking about the cleanup of the parking lot and getting the Jersey barriers out of the way, the final load of material. But yeah, the replanting the grass, that hasn't come up yet, but I imagine it's going to.
Yeah, Chris, it's on my radar, so I'm kind of on the guys about cleanup. So we'll figure it out. That's for sure.
Okay.
I'll get back
Also-
to you with, go ahead.
Also, Brendan said that the street sweeper was broken. They were renting. He doesn't know if it's been fixed yet, but he didn't want to reach out to Carl Sestito until this is all cleaned up and then put it on his radar because he's got so much going on in town right now.
Yeah.
So hopefully, I know that if Brendan asks Carl Sestito, Carl will be here to help us out. If he's got the equipment, Carl will help us out.
Okay.
So hopefully save us some money.
Okay, now,
Good.
I have a
Go ahead.
question about the effect of the vacuuming? Do you think it was worthwhile? Do you think we should look to do it again in another 2 to 3 years?
In 2 to 3 years, yeah, it's probably worth talking about. I'm not seeing a huge improvement, but I will say, for the middle of July, the water's pretty decent. That's the extent of my comment right now, just a couple months into, what we would be seeing the effect. I would say the effect is moderate at this time.
And that's to include with the aeration. Lee, it's a good question. We're unsure as to, is it really improving raw water quality? So stay tuned. We're going to be tracking it and trending it.
Right now, though, it's stable. We'll say that. I've seen it way worse, in both wet summers and dry summers. Right now, we're in a dry summer and the water quality is pretty moderate, which is good.
Knock on wood.
Yeah,
Okay, how are we doing with rainfall? How bad, how far behind are we?
we're quite behind. It's not great. We got 1/10 of an inch last night. Right now we have the weir gate at Aaron River 100% open, sending as much water as possible to Lily Pond, and drought conditions may worsen before they get better. So you should have that on your radar, that in the next couple weeks, we may be declaring a higher level of drought.
I know, well,
It's expected,
Could be worse.
right?
tell me about it. I just got back from my lake meeting in Maine, and gee whiz, all the alewives died because the beavers ate the dam and the water level went down, so they couldn't migrate. So now I have a green lake up in Maine because they couldn't eat the phosphorus, and we have algae. So it just is a constant, yes. We know how troublesome it is down here too.
So anything else on the milfoil? Good.
No, it's looking good.
Okay.
We're pushing the ball along.
Excellent. All right, so let's go to the next line. I'm Beechwood Street, water main replacement update.
The only update to that is the piping is gonna be delivered here Friday between 8 and 10, so it's a few weeks early, which is nice.
good.
The DPW will be assisting us and offloading it. That was part of the contract that we offloaded. So 1,900 feet of, I think it's 12-inch ductile iron, what is it, C900, whatever it is?
Yeah, it's plastic, right?
Yeah, it's plastic, that you couldn't get ductile iron. So that'll be delivered on Friday. Our backhoe wouldn't be able to handle it. We got a hydraulic leak right now. So we're treating that with kid gloves, waiting for Mr. Jarvis to show up and repair it.
Okay. So Sawyer Street update? Anything on that?
The only thing I have to report on Sawyer Street was they moved the hydrant, and the last thing that we needed to do was replace the shut off to 190 King Street, which we did the other day. And we were required to do flowable fill.
Okay. Now, does anybody know what's happening with the sewer on Sawyer Street? Are they waiting for the Cook Estate to put in their sewer before they pave the road?
I don't know. I know the Cook Estates, they sent out requests for proposals, because I know Rosano Davis bid on it. And that was just submitted the other day.
Because I thought it had to be done before school restarted. I don't know.
Though, since it's going through the school.
Yeah, that's what I presume too, so. Okay,
All right, so the next one, 508 CJC, anything on that from town hall at all?
have you heard anything about a ZBA meeting or? I saw they put in the grass and the little bushes, but we still have the issue when they redid the site. they purposely had the land going down towards the brook. So,
I thought John Hallen was gonna be at this meeting, but obviously not.
okay,
All right. Well, we did the Verizon leave, so the T-Mobile update. Anything on? Nothing on the T-Mobile
they're
update?
moving, putting it, are they almost installed or? T-Mobile?
They've got a lot of their stuff up there. I think Jonathan had sent some pictures to you guys
Right.
last week or
He
the week
did.
before. I know to be honest with you, Brendan O'Connor is opening up the gate to Bear Hill every day by 7 AM. And honestly, at this point, I don't know who's working up there.
Okay,
With all the communication stuff that's been going on with the fire and changing over to the whip, and I don't know, I don't understand it all, but there's people up there every single solitary day, and we're up there every day.
Right.
Yeah, there was a landscaper up there last week who was taking care of that landscaping that went by the wayside that one of the cell phone companies was responsible for.
That was Verizon.
Yep.
They had them up there and they completely cleared where it was encroaching on everything up there. So that's all been cleaned out.
Yeah, the photos have been helpful to see. I appreciate that. Send those over. So the next line I'd be a water RFP update. Much as I go through it, a lot of it's a more legal terminology. I'm kind of good with the RFP as it is. It's just should really go to a legal review, which it's going to right now to take a look at. Any comments on the way things are going in town? I think we need to get this out because I don't want to lag. I don't want to wait to the 12th hour. We gotta secure.
So
for
is it
next
with
year.
legal now reviewing it?
Yeah, now they are. So they can go to RFP.
Well, has it been updated? I mean, what are they reviewing? Are they reviewing the one from 2014?
They are.
Okay, so I mean, I think we need to come up with some feedback and comments as a board on if anything or what is different about this next term. Which I have not done yet, but what's the target for when this thing will be issued and on the street? Target
It'd be
date.
nice to get out, would like to get out in the early fall, September, October timeframe. Hopefully award by, I don't know, November. Just hopefully by November we can award, or December, the latest. Because the contract runs out, God, what was it, April, May?
June 30th.
June 30th, so
June 30th, so yeah, it'd be nice to have it in place.
they would also need some numbers for the budget.
Right.
Okay,
Because you go on the assumption that, the next bidders are going to have an increase.
so who is supposed to be getting back to us from legal or whomever this
So,
may be?
so basically the contact for the water RFP between us and legal would be Michelle
Mr. Leary,
area.
Okay, and so when she gets comments back from this outside law firm, she's gonna inform you.
Yep, then I'll let it, and then everybody's gonna get it back to take a look at.
Okay. I mean, has it at least been updated with new dates and whatnot? Or are they literally just looking at the old RFP?
They're gonna update it with dates and all that stuff.
Okay, so that'll be Michelle. Michelle's gonna tune it up for this term, this coming term.
Right,
Okay,
correct, because she is still, I'm assuming she's still in procurement.
He is.
that
Her
is her
job.
job.
Right,
She's procurement and assistant town manager.
correct.
And
Okay.
speaking of that, so the Beechwood Street, it just dawned on me. Those RFPs or the proposals, I think are supposed to be in by the end of this month. So we should have a contractor hopefully by then to do the Beechwood Street work.
Okay, well, excellent.
Yeah,
Thank you. for the
I'd like to
update.
get that done before the season's over.
All right, anything else? So I put in the Elms Meadow well field. See if there's any activity over there, maintenance and.
Yeah, we, a couple weeks ago, we gave it a deep clean, and yesterday we sampled it for PFAS using a new lab.
Good, excellent. At some point, we need to get into like a detailed discussion about like the board and trying to see what we can do with the well field and try to hopefully get back online at some point, with some filtration systems. I don't think, I'm not a water expert, but it's an asset just sitting out there, not doing anything. So, and
And we're paying for it.
and we're paying for exactly.
Yeah, well, the other thing too is the town is looking for fields. We have to see whether or not we could do anything with it. I talked to Paul Legel, and he said the neighborhood could probably use a little playground area there. And he thinks that we could get local contractors to volunteer time to do some of the cleanup. But I don't know exactly, we should be sitting down maybe with some of these people. I've approached our communications director in town several times about helping us out to let people know to stop dumping. And he was supposed to be doing PSAs, but he's never gotten back to me. And I have not heard back from the police who have our cameras. But this is something to think about. Would we be interested in possibly having a little slice of it as a playground area for young children in the area, in the hillside?
Is that even possible?
I don't know, but I'm thinking, just close to Nichols or, Cushing Road, right at the bottom of the hillside instead of deep into it. And
I
then
don't know.
just keeping it
It
clear. A lot
that
of
sound-
people talk about how it was always a field where they played when they were younger. And to bring it back, to get rid of some of that lush vegetation, which is hiding where the people are dumping. I even looked, you could see it when you drive along Cushing that there are piles close to the road too.
Right.
Yeah, it's just very aggravating.
So Steve, I agree with you that perhaps not for today's agenda, but we should have a in-depth discussion. Everyone should take a fresh look at the pilot study and have a real discussion on what the plan is, because this is going on 2 years now. We're paying for the place. It's deteriorating by the day, and it's just wrong. We can't abandon that infrastructure. It would be dereliction of our duty to the town to let that be abandoned, and we should not do it. So Jonathan, did you say that the new lab is, or you sent samples to a new lab this month?
Yes, yesterday.
Yesterday. So I think in your June report, it said that the average PFAS was around 18.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Okay, so the limit is 20, correct?
Yes.
And there's a question, but the consensus is that average is too close to the limit for this to be acceptable.
Correct.
Okay, so what should the average be for us to feel as though it's acceptable and to turn it on, get it online? 8?
Well,
Uh-huh.
technically, you should average under 20, but the problem is you're so close, you don't know. So that's the snag for me anyways. And if you were down around 10, it was averaging, well below the 20, then you could blend it with this source here. But when you're that
Okay.
close, public perception can run away.
Yeah, and if, Fred, help me out here. If we were running and then we had a sample that came back at 20 or more, we would have to notify the public that that water had gotten out.
Right.
That's the concern. And the folks in James Lane would be the first one affected, because they tap right off it, right?
Yes.
So even if it dropped down below 20 the next go round, Chris, public perception is you're sending bad water.
Okay,
That number may drop on its own though, using different labs.
Right.
Right.
So,
Really?
yes, unfortunately, which is kind of the crapshoot of the whole issue is that the numbers we're talking about are so small that like, from one lab to another,
Based on their SOPs and their protocols, because PFAS is in everything, Chris. So if somebody sampling, for example, doesn't follow certain protocols, they could potentially contaminate a sample. It could be
Okay.
based on what you're wearing. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. It's everywhere.
And I'm happy you guys are using a different firm too, because I've been through that same situation before where you go from company A to company B, a little different processes and made a huge difference in findings. So that was really, that was a good move.
Yeah, I'm gonna figure out the average. I'll throw in, like, say we get 3 months in a row that are 12.
Okay, well, he's figuring
That-
that out. Don't forget,
that
we
would-
also,
that'd be 17. If we got 3 months or 12, then our average drops from 18.5 to 17. So I don't know, maybe if I make them 10,
You get down to like 16.
yeah, 10, you get down to 16. So I don't
Problem is,
know.
any sample that comes over 20,
right.
public perception is gonna be.
I think just we have to look at if is it possible to do something like I mean, like I said, I'm not you guys, but is it a filtration system on the outflow? Is there something we can do that we should really look at as a board that would be worthwhile? I know there's a savings by using the wells. That's why,
I know Jason did an analysis and he got some pricing on treatment and the payback wasn't a great situation financially for the board, for the town. It was very costly with not a very good payback over time. Took a long time to get your money back.
Did that take
Um,
account the sludge generation?
Yeah, and that was another thing, sludge disposal for backwashing systems and so forth. You really had no place to put it.
No,
So
I
there
meant the
wasn't-
sludge here, where
Oh.
the extra sludge we're generating here.
Say that again then?
I wonder if Jason's equation factored in the amount of the more sludge that we're generating here with the well offline.
because that's why we did the wells year round to offset the sludge,
right.
to bring down the cost.
And-
But the other thing too that I wanted to bring up, because remember, Jonathan did the test on that outfall on Cushing, because that was the stuff coming down from the hillside. And what was the number there? Was it 16 or 17?
I think it was 13.
13, yeah, because that showed that stuff coming down from the hillside off the lawns, because it's no septic. And this is why I wanted to have our communications person start doing PSAs, because we have to make sure that people are not using certain chemicals, even though the chemicals say they don't have PFAS in them, but it has been discovered if they are shipped in large containers, the containers have PFAS and it leaches into the chemicals. So eventually you do get the chemicals there. If we could just get the community somehow involved, we might be able to do something. And don't forget, we won't be finished paying off the well field until 2032. Because we still have a bond outstanding.
Yeah,
I think-
and to that point, I mean, this idea of payback period, I mean, the payback should be considered over 100 years because, that the town is never going anywhere. The people are always going to need drinking water, and that's infrastructure that was built, that was designed to last many decades.
Yeah,
But
because we
maybe-
put $1.25 million into that site.
So maybe a kind of a one of the random meetings we can have is just talk about the well field itself and come up with some ideas if we had to hire somebody out to kind of really take a depth looked at it. There's one of the questions that I have for Jonathan and for Chris and Lee. I being close to the train tracks, I remember a year and a half ago, I was out with Glenn and Vince when I was on the board for CYBSA, and we had to find the old well field. Well, in fact, we ended up coming across it. It's behind the Wilcox Center. But you think it's worthwhile to do a PFAS water test on that old well? Because, you know, the current well field is near the train tracks, and that well field is as well. Is it worth it to do a sampling of that water? I mean, it's two different locations consistent near a train track. Is something worth it we could do? And if we have to pay, obviously, don't mind paying for it, if there's any kind of benefits to it.
I don't know,
Well,
what are
I
we
mean,
tr-
you'd probably be looking at possible effect of the train that people think might be happening. And also, I don't know what they're using on the fields right there, which would be draining into the well field. So that's something else we'd have to take into consideration because they're very active ball fields. I don't know
Right.
what they're using for fertilizers or whatever. And you have, you know, it's a community around it, so it wouldn't be that much different from this one.
Right, but it would be interesting to see. I mean,
at the
Yeah.
end
what
of-
it's worth.
I'm not sure what, you know, I don't know if that would provide you any useful information. At the end of the day, it sounds like here we are, you need another treatability study for that well field. So what are your options for treatment processes, technologies? How much? What kind of waste does it generate? And if you're not concerned, I couldn't agree more with your comment, Chris, as far as payback. As far as I'm concerned, you're depreciating an asset that you absolutely need. Unfortunately, you may have to, it may affect rates, it may not, but you're at a point now, you know, Jason was looking at various options. But again, you don't have any true engineering data in front of you to evaluate. And is it your next phase of DWSRF funding and so forth?
But wait a second, we have that $180,000 study that Tetra Tech did of the asset. Yeah.
Sorry, I'm sorry. Sorry. I think as a board, I think besides the GAC, I think priority now should really be set alongside the GAC is the well field. It's just a shame it's just sitting there. It really is.
100%. I agree that this should be elevated to a high priority initiative to get this done.
So, you know, just Fred, Jonathan, you know, something like that, should we have, I mean, honestly, we spent 180,000. We really didn't get much useful information out of it. You think it's worth having, again, maybe like a third party come in, you know, a single entity, you know, just to kind of review and take a look? I mean, you know, like a John Doe, you know.
Well, what I can do is internally, I can take that study, I can provide it to our treatment team, our engineers, ask them what they think, and then, you know, ask for a proposal for treatability. And then if you want to get other quotes from other firms, obviously you can do that as well. But
If you could do that, that'd be great. Because you know what? If there's something that comes out of it positive from, say, Woodard and Curran, you know, their staff, you know, honestly, if we are going to we have to do a rate study. We know that. And we have to go to town meeting. Why not kill two birds at once? We really can't be going back for a third time in 10 years, you know?
Mhm.
I don't know if Chris and Lee agree, but if this is the time to do it, this is probably the time.
if you're gonna do a rate study this time, please give me the opportunity to get you the right person to do that.
We will, absolutely. Chris and Lee, do you agree with me on that?
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, so maybe the next meeting's agenda will be slightly cut in half and just kind of focus on, you know, 4 topics: financial GAC and the well fields. We'll keep going. And Jonathan, thank you for doing that PFAS with another company.
Yeah, I might try a second or third one as well.
Go for it.
Until we get the numbers we want.
Yeah, go for it,
Sounds good to
Jonathan.
me.
Well, I mean, not to be cynical, but we did give this company almost 2 years of business. You know, it's time to develop a trend with someone else.
Right. No, Jonathan, you have our blessings to keep doing it, because I think it's a concern for all of us. And you know, it's just a shame that building just sitting out there. So we'll make that a priority for this year with the GAC. Okay. Any meeting notes?
Yeah, Chris, can you make a motion to approve the May 31st, 2022 meeting notes?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the May 31st meeting notes of Board of Water Commissioners.
I'll second.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. I'll just need to
And-
swing in at some point, Chris, and sign it.
Okay, I can be there tomorrow morning
Alright.
if that works for you.
It does.
I just have one quick note. I saw in I think the monthly report that there's a couple, and I've seen this a few times, but the burglar alarm at the plant experiences some false alarms from time to time, and whoever is on the call list, people are having to go out to the plant. So I just wanted to say that I'm a quarter mile away from the plant where I live. So I'd be more than happy to respond to false alarms if it means someone doesn't have to get out of bed and pay overtime and all that kind of thing, because I'm literally a quarter mile away. So I'd be happy to get on the call list or respond if needed.
I appreciate that, Chris, but it's really Woodard's obligation.
And Brendan is most of the time up at Avalon.
Okay,
So, basically, usually it's just come in, reset the alarm.
okay,
Sometimes you can hopefully just respond and they'll shut it off, but sometimes you have to physically come to the plant.
We
Yeah.
we have a treatment position open if you're interested.
yeah, and also one of the things my company does is electronic security. So I see we paid a bunch of money to replace a camera. So if there's any questions or input needed or assistance at all on whatever other types of electronic security we have across our infrastructure, please keep me in the loop.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
only, with that was handled through the town. The one camera we had was on a pole, like right outside my window, at the end of the driveway. The camera that was installed, it wasn't strong enough.
Mhm.
So it was taken and the new one was installed on the building going out to the parking lot, and it's got the, it looks all different ways for movement.
Okay,
I didn't know if the board wanted to have the other camera put on as well, or if it would just be like a redundancy kind of thing, having yet another camera there. The cameras that are here are looped into the town's, what do you call it? Like internet, whatever. And that's how it feeds back. So the website that the town has that you can see certain places like the dump here, police, fire can always see it too.
yeah, they can
Yeah.
see it, but is it part of the other cameras in town?
Yes, the ones here are. There are certain ones that are part of the town FiOS. That's what I was thinking of. And the FiOS line. But then we have other cameras that we physically have to go to if we want to see what's going on. And we have to download it. So if something happens, say down at the reservoir, and we get a call, we would physically have to go down there and download the camera so that the police could see it.
Okay. Yeah, so.
I
know
mean,
it's
they're
not a-
motion detected, so sometime, like when that boy was killed up at the reservoir, unfortunately, we could just see them go by and that was it. And once they got past the camera, it shut off, so, and it was dark, so it
Okay.
wasn't a big help.
all right,
Hey, can
maybe
anybody
come-
still see me?
no,
No.
Oh, my computer screen's going blank.
So did you.
Yep. No, I just, before we kind of wrap up, I do want to say thank you to Jonathan for those weekly updates. They are so helpful. It feels like we're keeping in the loop. Thank you for going the extra mile for us. We really appreciate it. And if there's a Friday you can't do it, it is what it is because you're busy, but thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, no problem. I'm glad you feel that way about it.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I'm telling you.
No, it really feels like we're back to where we were when I first came on the board. Because I used to go in and be able to talk to Doran and Carl, and we were discussing things with everybody.
Oh, we're all in it together.
That's right.
Yep. Okay, one
So-
last thing I want to just throw out again. The board voted unanimously for 2 years in a row to put the school and the town on rate 2 for water, which would mean approximately $30,000 income for us a year. And 2 years in a row, both Jason and Don just scuttled the whole thing for us. So I think we possibly should be going forward for the next, budget period. Because we'll be needing that income.
What do you mean, Lee? What, for this billing period?
No, for the next budget cycle. you
Oh,
know,
fiscal
for
year 2024.
24, yeah.
Oh, okay, because I just finished putting in the new rates.
Yeah, no, for fiscal 2024. Because don't forget, how Don messed that up with the school again.
Okay.
All right. I'll make a motion to, anything else, folks?
No.
All right, I'll make a motion to close.
What's the time?
Okay, I'll make a motion to close the Water Commission meeting at 11:43 a.m. Can I get a
Second.
second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I
Thank
wish
you,
I could see everybody,
All right.
but I can't.
All right, thank you.
I'll
Thanks, everybody.
All
See
right,
ya.
take care.
All right.
Bye.